I stood there, frozen, my smile wilting as I stared at the banner strung above the cake table. "Congratulations, Savannah." It read in sparkling gold letters, flanked by pink and purple balloons, my sister's favorite colors. My name was nowhere in sight. My promotion party, the one I'd worked years for, had been hijacked right in front of me. And the worst part? My mom was the mastermind. The night had started with so much promise. I'd just landed a coveted management position at one of the top marketing firms in the city. It wasn't just a job. It was the culmination of endless late nights, skipped holidays, and sacrifices most people never saw. So when I decided to throw a little get-together at my parents' house to celebrate, it felt well-earned. I hadn't asked for much, just a simple dinner, close family and friends, something warm and heartfelt. I even paid for everything. The decorations, the food, the custom cake that was supposed to say, "Congratulations, Emily," because this night, for once, was supposed to be about me. But when I walked into the living room and saw Savannah twirling in the middle of a crowd of beaming relatives, soaking in the spotlight like it was her birthright, I knew something was wrong. People were handing her gifts, clapping for her. Aunt Marcy even wiped away a tear as she hugged her. "You've come so far, sweetheart," she gushed. "You deserve this." Deserve what? My promotion? I looked around for Mom, still clinging to hope that maybe this was some kind of weird misunderstanding. Maybe someone swapped the banners. Maybe Savannah, with her flair for drama, had staged some kind of impromptu attention grab. But then I saw Mom, beaming with pride, standing beside Savannah and nodding approvingly as if this had all gone exactly to plan. "Mom?" I asked, approaching her quietly. "What's going on?" "Oh, sweetie," she said with a dismissive wave. Savannah had such a rough year, and this little celebration was just what she needed. "Don't worry. We didn't forget about your promotion. We're all so proud of you, too." That word hit me like a slap. As if my promotion was an afterthought, a side note in Savannah's ongoing drama saga. I looked back at my sister, whose idea of a hard year involved breaking up with her latest boyfriend and dropping out of yet another college course. And yet, here she was, receiving a standing ovation. The air around me grew thick. People clinked glasses, music played softly in the background, and laughter echoed off the walls. But inside, I was shrinking, folding into myself. I had worked for everything I had, no shortcuts, no handouts. Savannah, on the other hand, had spent her life chasing whims and dragging my parents through one emotional roller coaster after another. And still, she was always the star. I tried to stay calm. I took a deep breath and made my way to the kitchen, hoping to regroup before I lost my cool. I leaned on the counter, staring at the cake I had ordered. It was shoved into the corner, partially hidden behind a stack of plates. The message I'd asked the baker to write, "To Emily for your brilliant climb," was barely visible under a napkin. My name, my moment, my accomplishment, buried. I could feel tears threatening to rise, but I blinked them back. I was not going to cry. Not over this. Not again. "Hey," my cousin Josh said, peeking into the kitchen. "Didn't know this was for Savannah. Kinda thought this was your night." "It was," I replied, my voice tight. He frowned. "Man, that's messed up." I nodded, grateful someone noticed. I wasn't crazy. I wasn't overreacting. This wasn't right. Back in the living room, someone tapped a spoon against a glass. "Speech." Aunt Marcy called out. "Speech from the guest of honor." Savannah squealed, clutching her heart like she'd just won a Grammy. She grabbed a mic from the karaoke setup we'd planned for later, her eyes shining. "Oh my God, you guys. I had no idea this was happening." "Well, maybe a little idea, but I'm just so touched." I stood by the doorframe, watching her soak in every second. My stomach twisted. I couldn't listen to this. I couldn't let her stand there and pretend this night belonged to her while I melted into the wallpaper like I didn't exist. As Savannah rambled on about how hard she'd been, working on herself. I slowly walked toward the mic stand. My heart pounded louder with every step. Something inside me, years of feeling second best, of swallowing my pride, of letting things slide, snapped. I reached out and gently took the mic from Savannah's hands. She blinked, confused. "Emily," she said, a nervous laugh in her voice. "What are you?" I turned to face the room. Every pair of eyes landed on me, curious, expectant. I could feel Mom's disapproval from across the room, her mouth tightening, her arms crossing like a storm cloud about to burst. But I didn't care anymore. "Hi, everyone," I began, my voice surprisingly steady. "I just want to say thank you all for being here tonight. Some of you might be a little confused, so let me clear things up." A hush fell over the room. This party was originally planned to celebrate a big milestone in my life. I got promoted. After years of hard work, long nights, and sacrificing more than I can say, I finally made it to a position I've dreamed of since college. I planned this night to share that with all of you. Whispers began to ripple across the crowd. But somewhere along the way, that message got lost. The banner, the balloons, even the speech, it all shifted to someone else. Again. Savannah shifted uncomfortably beside me, her smile frozen. "I love my family. I really do. But I'm tired of being invisible. I'm tired of putting in the work, doing everything right, and still being treated like I'm less important. Like I'm just the background to someone else's spotlight." I paused, letting the weight of my words hang in the air. This was supposed to be my night, and I won't let it be stolen. The room was silent. No one moved. Even the music had cut off, as if the speakers themselves had gone mute out of respect. Mom finally stepped forward, her voice sharp. "Emily, this is not the time." "No, Mom," I said, turning to her. "Every time I've tried to speak up, I've been told it's not the time. When Savannah dropped out again, and you needed someone to pick up the pieces, it wasn't the time. When I got my first internship and you forgot to show up to the ceremony, it wasn't the time. When I bought my first car and you told me it was just a phase, it wasn't the time. So forgive me, but I'm done waiting for the right time. I'm taking this one." I handed the mic back to the stand and walked out the front door, head high, heart pounding. I didn't know what would happen next. But I knew one thing for sure. This time, I had finally chosen myself. I didn't go far that night, just around the corner to my car, where I sat gripping the steering wheel with white-knuckled hands, staring at nothing. The sounds of the party still drifted through the air, muffled laughter, someone restarting the music, voices trying to pretend nothing had just happened. I wanted to drive off and never look back, but my hands wouldn't move. I wasn't ready. Not yet. My heart was still hammering. My breathing came in uneven waves. The truth was, I wasn't just angry. I was hurt. Deeply, bitterly hurt. I'd spent most of my life watching my sister command attention like she was born under a spotlight. Savannah could walk into any room and people would stop mid-sentence to greet her, to ask how she was doing, to offer something, anything, to win her approval. She had that kind of glow, that charisma that made people believe she was special even when she hadn't done much to earn it. She didn't have to. That was the unspoken rule in our family. Savannah was the spark, the wild one, the fragile one who needed protecting. And I was the dependable one. Emily will understand, they'd always said. She's mature. She gets it. But being the one who gets it gets old fast when your own milestones are brushed aside like crumbs on a table. I'd played the supportive sister role for so long I'd started to wonder if anyone even saw me as anything else. When we were kids, it was little things, like how my perfect attendance awards were tacked up in the hallway, while Savannah's mediocre art projects made it to the fridge. I never made a fuss. I figured it didn't matter. I wasn't doing those things for recognition anyway. But then high school came and Savannah started slipping, bad grades, drama with friends, emotional breakdowns, and suddenly our whole family dynamic shifted. Everything revolved around her. Her moods, her failures, her needs. Mom would cancel plans if Savannah had a bad day. She'd cancel on me, too. Like the time I got nominated for a state academic competition and Mom promised she'd be there, only to text me last minute that she couldn't make it because Savannah had locked herself in the bathroom after a breakup. "It's just one thing, Emily," she said. "She needs me." That's when the quiet resentment started growing in me, feeding off every missed moment, every she didn't mean to, and try to understand. I stopped asking Mom to come to things. I stopped expecting to be the center of anything. I made peace with it. Or at least I thought I had. Until tonight. Inside, the party picked up again. Savannah stood near the snack table, nervously nibbling on a mini quiche as guests tried to console her. She wasn't used to being upstaged.
Certainly not by me.
She glanced at the door where I'd disappeared. A flicker of something. Was it guilt? Crossing her face. She didn't understand what just happened, not really. To her, this night was just another moment where the spotlight naturally drifted to her. It wasn't personal. Not in the way it was for me. Mom was more rattled. She stood rigid, glass of wine in hand, lips pursed in that way she did when she wanted to scream but was trying not to cause a scene. "I cannot believe she did that," she muttered to Aunt Marcy. "After everything I've done for her." Marcy gave her a look. "Linda, honey, I think she had a point." Mom scoffed. "Oh, please." This was just a harmless way to lift Savannah's spirits. Emily overreacted. "Was it harmless?" Marcy said gently. "You do realize the banner said Savannah's name, right? On Emily's promotion night. She's being dramatic. She's being honest." Mom took a long sip of wine and didn't respond. Deep down, she knew. But knowing and admitting are two different beasts. Savannah excused herself and slipped upstairs. She found her way to her childhood bedroom, still pink and floral and untouched by time, and sat on the edge of the bed, her fingers running along the lace comforter. She was confused, and maybe, just maybe, a little shaken. She'd always thought Emily didn't care about attention. Emily was the brain, the quiet achiever. She'd assumed Emily liked it that way, that she preferred the sidelines, that she found her validation in certificates and paychecks and neat little goals that ticked off like a checklist. It never crossed Savannah's mind that her sister might have wanted something more. Recognition, celebration, love that wasn't laced with duty. She reached into the drawer by the bed and pulled out a faded photo from years ago, one of the rare ones where they were both smiling. Halloween, aged 10 and 13. Savannah had insisted on being a fairy princess, and Emily went as a wizard to match. Not because she wanted to, because Savannah begged her to. Emily never complained. She never made a fuss. She just showed up. Savannah sighed. Downstairs, Mom had started cleaning up early, her mood soured beyond salvaging. The guests filtered out slowly, offering half-hearted goodbyes and polite compliments, their eyes flickering with discomfort. No one said it, but the air was thick with it. They all knew Emily had spoken a truth that had long gone unspoken. In my car, I finally turned the engine off. My chest had stopped heaving, but the ache remained. A heavy, hollow ache that no deep breath could fix. The truth was, I hadn't planned to take the mic. I hadn't come into the party looking for drama. I'd spent the whole day excited, even nervous, thinking maybe, just maybe, this time would be different. I'd even bought a new dress. A green silk one I could barely justify on my budget, but told myself I deserved. And for a while, when I arrived and people hugged me, handed me small wrapped gifts, told me congrats, I believed it. I let myself believe it. Until I saw the banner. Until I saw Savannah in the center of it all. And until I saw Mom, my own mother, beaming like Savannah had just cured cancer. That was the moment something broke. I'd always tried to be the good daughter, the reliable one, the self-starter. And for years, I told myself that being overlooked was a trade-off I had to accept. That if I just worked hard enough, if I achieved enough, eventually the recognition would come. Eventually, I'd be seen. But tonight proved that wasn't true. You can do everything right and still be invisible. I stayed in the car a long time after everyone left. I didn't go back inside. I didn't answer Mom's texts. I just sat with my thoughts, trying to make sense of them, trying not to feel as small as I did. When I finally started the engine and drove home, I felt a strange sense of clarity. Not peace. Not yet. But something real. Something resolved. I wouldn't do it anymore. I wouldn't fade into the background so someone else could shine. Not for Savannah. Not for Mom. Not for anyone. And the next time they tried to dim my light, they'd find I wasn't so easy to overlook anymore. The fallout started quietly. A few texts that night. A call or two the next morning. Nothing explosive, just that eerie kind of silence that settles after a storm, when everyone's pretending nothing happened but the air still smells like smoke. Mom texted first. Asterisk, you embarrassed the whole family, Emily. We'll talk when you've calmed down. Asterisk. Savannah followed with a much shorter message. Asterisk, I didn't know Mom did that. I'm sorry if it upset you. Asterisk. If. I stared at the screen, fingers poised above the keyboard, but I didn't reply. I wasn't ready. Not for placating apologies, not for faux concern. I needed space, and, for once, I was going to take it. But social media didn't wait. Uncle Mark had posted a cheerful group photo from the party, captioned, Asterisk, family night celebrating the amazing Savannah. Asterisk, it had already racked up comments and likes from distant cousins, church friends, people who hadn't seen us in years. I hovered over the image, scanning every face. I was in the back row, smiling thinly, clutching a glass of wine like a lifeline. There was no mention of my promotion. Not one word. Not even a tag. It was like I'd never been there. But someone else had noticed. A friend from college, Alyssa, messaged me privately after seeing the post. Asterisk, hey, wasn't that party for your new job? Saw a post and thought, wait a second, where are you? Asterisk. I paused before responding, then finally typed. Asterisk, good question. Asterisk. Alyssa didn't let it go. Girl, I would have flipped that table. I laughed, for the first time in 24 hours. A short, bitter laugh, but real. That kind of laugh that comes not from humor, but from recognition.
Someone saw me.
Someone got it. Then another message popped up. Then another. Friends, coworkers, even my boss sent a short but sincere message. Asterisk, heard the party didn't go how you expected. For what it's worth, your work does speak volumes, and so does your courage.
Keep shining.
Asterisk. Apparently, a few people had posted live stories at the party. Some guests had even filmed part of my speech and uploaded it. The video made the rounds, nothing viral, but enough that a few people in my circle started talking.
Sharing. Commenting.
Asterisk, this is why emotional labor in families needs to be recognized. Asterisk. Asterisk, the older sibling always expected to carry the burden. Asterisk. Asterisk, why are women celebrated only when they fall apart, not when they succeed? Asterisk. The irony was almost poetic. My voice, once drowned out in a living room, now echoing louder through a digital crowd. It gave me a strange sense of vindication, like I hadn't screamed into a void after all. But even as validation trickled in, I felt the ache underneath it all. Because online recognition was fleeting. What I really wanted, the things that mattered most, still hung in limbo. My family, my mom, my sister. Savannah stayed in her room most of the next day. She didn't go on Instagram. She didn't reply to the texts piling up from friends asking what really happened at the party. Instead, she sat in silence, replaying the moment I'd taken the mic and turned the party into something raw and unforgettable. She wasn't used to feeling ashamed. Savannah had grown up adored, coddled when she failed, celebrated when she so much as showed up. It wasn't her fault, not entirely. The family had made it that way. But now, Seeing how hurt I was, she was starting to question everything. She pulled out a box from under her bed, scraps of old schoolwork, crumpled letters, childhood memories. She found a drawing I'd made for her 10th birthday, a sketch of us as superheroes. She was flying through the air with golden hair, a beam of light shooting from her hand. I was on the ground holding a shield, always the one protecting. She rubbed her eyes and whispered, "I never meant to be the villain." But intentions didn't undo damage. And her silence all those years, letting Mom make me invisible, was a kind of complicity, too. Mom, on the other hand, refused to see herself as the problem. She spent the next few days fuming. She called Marcy, ranting. Everyone's overreacting. Emily made a scene. It was supposed to be a supportive evening for both girls. What kind of daughter hijacks her sister's moment like that? But the defensiveness was a mask. When she lay in bed that night, staring at the ceiling, guilt curled at the edges of her thoughts. There had been something in my voice that night, something she couldn't ignore.
A sadness she'd missed.
She thought back to all those years I stayed quiet. All the times I said, "It's okay, Mom," when she forgot to show up. The times I helped carry Savannah's mess without complaint. She told herself I was strong, that I didn't need celebration the way Savannah did. But maybe she had mistaken strength for silence, and silence for not hurting. She looked at her phone, thumb hovering over my name in her contacts. Then she put it down again. She wasn't ready to apologize. 3 days passed before I heard from Savannah again. She showed up at my door unexpectedly, dressed in jeans and a hoodie, no makeup, hair tied back. Vulnerable, unarmed. I opened the door, unsure of what I felt. Anger? Sadness? Relief? "Hey," she said, eyes searching mine. "Can I come in?" I stepped aside. We sat on the couch in silence for a long while. She looked around, absorbing the space. I'd moved into this apartment last year, a one-bedroom I could barely afford but had made mine. Every plant, every book, every frame on the wall was me. She'd never been here. "I should have said something at the party," she finally whispered. "When I saw the banner, I thought Mom had cleared it with you." "I didn't know she switched it. I swear." I nodded slightly. That part one believe. She bit her lip, but I didn't stop it either. I let it happen, like always. A pause. "I guess I got used to thinking you didn't mind being in the background." I looked down at my hands. I did. I just didn't think it would matter if I said anything. She nodded, her voice quiet. But it did. It wasn't an instant fix. There were still things unspoken, wounds not yet clean. But in that moment, we saw each other clearly, maybe for the first time in years. As she stood to leave, she turned to me and said, "You were brave, Emily. And I'm sorry for every time I didn't see that." After she left, I sat alone in my apartment, a small weight lifted. There was still distance between me and Mom, and maybe that conversation would take more time. But in the ashes of that disastrous night, something honest had emerged. A reckoning, a recognition, and even in the wreckage, a quiet voice inside me whispered, "You were never invisible. You were just never loud enough before."
Now?
They heard me. The day after Savannah came over, I called out sick from work, not because I was ill, but because something inside me had cracked wide open, and I needed time to sit with it. I made tea, sat by my window, and let myself feel everything I'd pushed down for years. The quiet disappointments, the brushed-off achievements, the birthday parties where Savannah cried and stole the attention, the proud moments I celebrated alone. And then I asked myself the question that had haunted me since the party. What now? For so long, I'd accepted invisibility as a price of being the strong one. I worked hard, kept the peace, made myself small to let others be big. But for what? Even my success, a well-earned promotion at one of the toughest departments in the company, had been twisted into another Savannah-centric story. So I did something I hadn't done in years. I planned my event. Not a half-hearted dinner at a family friend's house. Not a shared celebration where Savannah hovered near the spotlight.
No.
This would be mine. Authentically, fully mine. I rented out a cozy rooftop lounge that overlooked the river. It was simple but beautiful, string lights, a small band I loved, and room for 20 people. I carefully made the guest list. No more appeasing people who didn't show up for me. This time, only the people who saw me, respected me, and truly wanted to be there. I sent digital invitations with a bold header. Emily's promotion celebration. No sharing the stage this time. Alyssa messaged me immediately. Asterisk, yes. I love this energy. Asterisk. My boss replied. Asterisk. Wouldn't miss it for the world. Asterisk. Some coworkers sent encouraging messages. Even a few old college friends RSVP'd with genuine warmth. One even joked, asterisk, finally. A night that's about you. Asterisk. It felt good. Strange, but good. As I planned, I felt something shift inside me. For the first time in years, I wasn't waiting for someone else to see me. I was holding up the mirror myself. And the more I took control, the more I realized I'd never truly taken ownership of my joy before. I'd always waited for permission. This time, I was giving it to myself. Meanwhile, Mom had heard about the upcoming party through the grapevine, probably from Aunt Marcy, who'd RSVP'd with an excited note and even offered to bring wine. Mom hadn't spoken to me since the incident. She hadn't reached out, hadn't apologized. But something was gnawing at her. She'd started replaying the moments leading up to the party over and over. Every time, it got harder to justify what she'd done. She sat one evening with her own glass of wine, phone in hand, Savannah across the room scrolling through her iPad. I think I really hurt Emily, Mom said suddenly. Savannah looked up, surprised.
Yeah.
You did. Mom winced. I didn't mean to. I just thought you were going through so much with the job search and your anxiety. I always have something going on, Savannah interrupted. That's kind of the point. Mom blinked. Savannah leaned forward, setting her iPad down. You always say Emily's the strong one, the one who gets it. But she's been carrying this family's emotional weight since we were kids. Don't you think she gets tired too? She never said anything.
She did.
Just not with words. That silenced Mom. For the first time, she let that truth settle without batting it away. She's throwing a new party, she said quietly. I know, Savannah said. And I think we should go. But only if you can actually show up for her this time. Mom didn't respond. But her eyes, for once, looked uncertain. Not defensive. Not proud. Just open. The night of the rooftop party arrived crisp and clear, with a light breeze brushing the river below. I got there early, nerves dancing in my stomach. The string lights twinkled above, casting a soft glow over the tables. A live jazz trio warmed up in the corner. Everything felt magical. Not extravagant, just right. Guests trickled in with hugs, laughter, and genuine enthusiasm. Alyssa brought a bottle of champagne and a hug so tight, I thought I might cry. My coworkers gave toasts that made me laugh and blush. One brought a small cake with "Congratulations, Emily, finally," written in frosting. It was everything I had dreamed of, warm, real, mine. And then, just as I was about to raise my glass to speak, I saw them. Mom and Savannah. They walked in slowly, not late, but cautious, as if aware they weren't the stars of this show. Mom wore a navy blazer, hair neatly pulled back. Savannah kept her outfit simple, almost understated. For a beat, the music faded into the background. Conversation softened. I met their eyes. And then I nodded. Mom approached first, her face uncertain but calm. She opened her mouth, then closed it again. Finally, she said, "This is beautiful, Emily. You did a wonderful job." "Thanks," I said, unsure what else to offer. She hesitated. I owe you an apology. That stopped me cold. She continued, voice lower. I let you down. Not just at the party, but for years. I was so focused on holding Savannah together that I didn't realize I was letting you disappear. You didn't deserve that. I'm sorry. My throat tightened. I looked at Savannah, who stepped forward and said softly, she means it. And I mean it too. I know I've taken up too much space without ever stopping to look around. Something inside me melted. I didn't rush to hug them. I didn't throw my arms around their necks and pretend everything was fixed. But I let their words land. I accepted them. And that mattered. Later in the evening, I took the mic again. Not in defiance this time, but in gratitude. I want to thank you all for being here. I began, my voice steady. This isn't just a celebration of a job or a title. It's a celebration of reclaiming your place. For years, I thought strength meant staying quiet. But strength can also mean standing up and saying, see me, hear me, I matter too. I glanced at Mom. She nodded, eyes glassy. I hope we all remember to show up for the people who show up for us, to celebrate each other fully, and to never be afraid to take the mic when we need to. The crowd erupted in applause. That night, something in me realigned. Not completely healed, but steadied. For once, I wasn't trying to be invisible, and no one was trying to ignore me. Savannah stayed until the very end. She helped pack up the leftover cake, even danced a little with Alyssa. Mom mingled with my friends, awkwardly at first, then slowly with ease. She didn't try to hijack the moment. She just watched, with the quiet pride I'd always wished for. Before she left, she pulled me into a hug and whispered, I see you now. And for the first time in a long, long while, I believed her. The weeks that followed the rooftop party passed like the slow exhale after a long, held breath. Something had changed, not just in me, but in the current of our family. It wasn't perfect, but the air was different. Lighter. Still, I knew the real test would come when the next family event rolled around. And that came sooner than I expected. Thanksgiving. In our family, Thanksgiving had always been sacred. The one holiday where extended family crowded into my parents' house, each person bringing a dish and an opinion. There were traditions, Savannah carving the turkey, despite not knowing how, Mom's chaotic cranberry sauce that no one touched, my quiet job of making sure everything ran smoothly while getting little credit. But this year, I wasn't willing to be invisible again. I didn't want to just blend in. I wanted to be there. Fully. Authentically. So when Mom called to talk about the menu, I cleared my throat and said, actually, I was thinking maybe we could do something different this year. There was a pause. Different how? Let's make it a real collaboration, I said. Not just the usual roles. Let's switch things up. Everyone brings something new to the table, literally and figuratively. To my surprise, Mom didn't resist. She just said, okay, I'd like that. Maybe it was the rooftop night still echoing in her memory. Maybe she was finally ready to let old habits fall away. Either way, I felt a sliver of hope. When Thanksgiving Day arrived, I wore a mustard-colored dress I loved, something bright, something bold. Savannah met me in the driveway, carrying 2 pies she'd baked herself. She smiled nervously. Mom didn't touch the banner this time, she joked. I laughed. Probably burned it. Inside, the house was warm with smells of cinnamon, roasted vegetables, and a hint of nervous energy. But this time, no one rushed to assign roles or center Savannah in every conversation. Instead, something remarkable happened. People mingled in new ways. My cousin asked me about my promotion and genuinely listened. Aunt Marcy pulled me aside and said, I'm really proud of how you spoke your truth. That took guts. Even Savannah seemed changed. She didn't dominate the room. She listened more. She made jokes that didn't revolve around her problems or her stress. And then, just before dinner, Mom tapped a glass to get everyone's attention. My stomach clenched. For a flash, I thought, asterisk, here it comes. The speech about family unity and Savannah's sensitive spirit, asterisk. But Mom cleared her throat, looked around the table, then looked at me. I want to say something, she began. This year, I've learned more from my daughters than I could have imagined, especially from Emily. The room went quiet. I could feel my chest tighten. I've made mistakes, she continued, voice soft but steady. Big ones. I got stuck in patterns that hurt people I love. Emily, I didn't always see you clearly. I'm sorry for that. I'm trying to be better now. I blinked quickly, trying to keep tears from falling. She'd never said anything like this in front of family before. Ever. And I want everyone at this table to know, she went on, turning slightly to the others, that celebrating one person shouldn't mean ignoring another. That love is not a limited resource. And that my daughter, asterisk both asterisk of my daughters, deserve to be seen for who they truly are. She raised her glass. To new traditions. And to Emily, whose courage helped make them possible. A chorus of glasses clinked. The room felt fuller, somehow. Not just with people, but with truth. I caught Savannah's eyes. She smiled. A real one. Not apologetic, not performative. Just proud. That night, as we sat around the living room, laughing over pumpkin pie and old memories, I realized something profound. The mic I took that night at the promotion party wasn't about revenge. It wasn't about stealing attention. It was about reclaiming something I had given up a long time ago, my right to be recognized, to be celebrated, to belong. And more than that, it was a spark. One that lit the way toward change. In the months that followed, our family didn't become magically perfect. There were still small tensions, moments when old habits crept in.
But there was awareness now, a sense of balance.
And when someone veered off course, we called it out, with love, not bitterness. Savannah started therapy. She said it was something she should have done years ago. She began talking about things we'd never discussed: pressure, comparison, the fear of failing after being labeled the shining one. I think I envied you, she confessed one day over coffee. You were always grounded. And I always felt like I was performing. I squeezed her hand. We were both just trying to survive in the roles we were given. She nodded. But now we get to rewrite them. As for Mom, she didn't transform overnight. But she made efforts. Real ones. She started asking how I was doing, asterisk, really asterisk doing. She bragged about me to her friends, not just Savannah. She showed up to a panel I spoke at for work, sat in the front row, and beamed like I'd won an Oscar. It meant the world. Because it wasn't just about one night. It was about being seen, not as a placeholder or a support beam, but as a person with her own light. I even started mentoring younger women in my company, especially the ones who stayed quiet in meetings, who worked late but never got credit. I know what it's like to be invisible, I told one new hire. But here's the thing, when you finally speak, make sure it's with your full voice. Don't apologize for needing the mic. She smiled. You sound like you've done this before. I have, I said. And I do it again. On the 1-year anniversary of my promotion, I hosted a small gathering. Just a few friends, some charcuterie boards, soft music. Nothing grand, just intentional. Honest. We toasted not just to titles or pay raises, but to growth, to boundaries, to choosing ourselves without guilt. And as the evening wound down, Alyssa leaned in and said, "You know what I love? You didn't wait for anyone to give you permission. You took the moment, and look what changed." I smiled, because she was right. Everything had changed. And it all began the night I stood up, heart racing, and spoke the words no one expected. The night I said, this was supposed to be my celebration. That one act, the courage to stop shrinking, wasn't just about me. It was about all the women like me. The quiet ones. The reliable ones. The ones who'd carried families and teams and pain without ever demanding recognition. It was about rewriting the narrative, not as an act of defiance, but as an act of truth. Because sometimes the most powerful revolution doesn't come with fireworks or fury. It comes with one woman taking the mic and refusing to hand it back. What I've come to understand, what this entire journey etched into me, is that silence isn't always strength. Sometimes silence is survival. It's coping. It's years of believing that making yourself smaller will keep the peace, that being the easy one is a virtue, that love is earned only when you don't make waves. But peace built on one person's erasure is not peace at all. It's a quiet war. Taking the mic that night wasn't about embarrassing anyone or stealing back attention like a petty thief. It was about drawing a line in the sand and saying, asterisk, I exist. I matter. I deserve joy that doesn't have to be shared to feel valid. Asterisk. And once I said it, once I stood up for myself in a room full of people who were used to me quietly folding, I realized something even more powerful. I didn't need permission. I never had. That's the lesson I hope others take from this. You don't have to wait until you break. You don't have to wait for someone else to finally notice your effort or see your worth. You are allowed to speak up before the moment explodes. You're allowed to reclaim your space and demand joy that is not conditional. You can be kind and still set boundaries. You can love your family and still hold them accountable. You can forgive without forgetting the cost of being ignored. My story wasn't about a single party. It was about what happens when we spend a lifetime letting others write our narratives and what it takes to finally grab the pen back. It's also about the people who do see us, even when we're hiding in plain sight. Friends like Alyssa, who nudged me forward when I was too tired to believe in myself. Co-workers who clapped the loudest when no one else showed up. Even Savannah, once my biggest source of tension, who eventually looked in the mirror and chose growth over ego. It wasn't easy. Change never is. But it was worth it. Because now, when I walk into a room, I don't brace myself for invisibility. I walk in knowing that my story matters. Not because it's loud, not because it's perfect, but because it's mine. That's what I want to leave you with. Your story is yours. Don't let anyone edit it down until you're just a footnote in someone else's success. Don't settle for being the quiet one, the helper, the background character in your own life. You are not here just to hold the camera while someone else shines. You are allowed to be seen. You are allowed to be celebrated. You are allowed to take the mic. Even if your hands shake. Even if your voice cracks. Even if it changes everything. Because sometimes the most radical thing you can do is simply stop apologizing for existing. So take up space. Stand tall. And when the moment comes, when it's your turn to be heard, don't hesitate.
Take the mic.
And don't let go.